Tupper Ling, and I surround myself with books professionally and fun. And so professionally, have been in the library 30 years, and then I also write poetry, picture books. And my latest picture book is this one, For Every Little Thing, that I collaborated with my partner and illustrated by Helen.
Thank you. Alina, how about you? Can you introduce yourself?
Hi. On a book called Double Happiness, and last year I also debuted my graphic novel Marshmallow and Jordan as an author illustrator. So yeah, so I do both, and so yeah, excited to share book stories with everyone.
And for those who haven't seen it, I also have an IG live that I did with Alina earlier. I can't remember, maybe back in May. So if you can look on our Instagram page, or if you go to our YouTube playlist, you can watch that whole interview, which was really wonderful. Shirley, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm from the Bay Area, California. I'm an author illustrator. I've been illustrating since I think 2009, and I've had the honor of illustrating over 30 books, which has been truly amazing. And I'm really so proud of them in that they feature diverse kids. And it's just, I was just thinking about this stack that I've been so fortunate to work with. So yeah, and I'm more recently now collaborating with Nancy. We have a book coming out I think it's in the fall of 2024 or spring. Is it fall, Nancy? I think it's fall. So I'm very excited for that. It's called Heart Pocket. And so that's how I've been collaborating with Nancy through our lovely agent. So yeah.
Wonderful. And hopefully we can talk about that book a little bit more later. And I was impressed. I didn't realize how many books you had worked on until I was getting ready for this and looked in your website, and just so many books that you've worked on. Can we also, maybe as a way of introducing yourselves, can you tell people how you became an author or illustrator? Was it something you always wanted to do? And do you have any tips for anybody who's looking to get into doing this? Nancy, do you want to start?
Sure. Like many listeners, I've always loved to write, but like loving to do that, learn the craft. So I have totally, for the many years, taken workshops, and I totally recommend the Writer's Lock, which is local to me. SUI, different along the way have helped me, hone the craft to become better, to sort of see it from the perspective too, which was a lesson that I needed to learn as well. How do you spread it out on page, words, like all that's been really great for me to learn.
How about you, Alina?
For me, I kind of stumbled into the children's book industry a little bit by accident. I used to work in animation as an animator, and I'm always curious about children's book publishing. But because of my education, I never really know enough how to get the foot in the door, until one day, one of my friends who is in the book world, and he asked me to collaborate a children's picture book with him called Treehouse Heroes and the Forgotten Beasts. And then the book get acquired by a local publisher in San Francisco, Mandian Book. And that's like my first book project. So with the help of my friend and the publisher, I learned a lot about the children's book scene, and I get very interested in it. So that kind of like eased me into slowly morph my career towards book publishing. And at one point when I found an agent, she encouraged me to write my own book. So the first book that I wrote and published will be Marshmallow and Jordan that come out last year.
Wonderful. And I love seeing all of your beautiful illustrations or the paintings behind you.
Thank you. Yeah, these are all work in progress. Some of these are the upcoming book that is coming out in fall called Bonnie's Rocket, and that is with Lee and Lo coming out this fall.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful. I've been a fan of Alina's for so long and Nancy's for so long, so it's so exciting to be here with you guys. Let's see, my path to children's books kind of came after a career in graphic design. I studied graphic design with a concentration in illustration in school, and through raising two kids and getting a little more time in the day, I started moving back towards my first love, which was illustration. In the design industry, I would try and throw my hand lettering and illustrations into my designs. So that was sort of my way to try and add a little illustration to the career. But so now working in the publishing industry, I've been able to work with Lee and Low as well, and it's just been really wonderful to illustrate just different kids, different diverse kids, and write now stories featuring some. My first story will be of a Chinese American little girl and her grandmother. So, yeah, but I would suggest if anyone is interested in pursuing this as a career, I took a lot of advice from some SCBWI illustrator days that were in San Francisco. I'd go every year, and we'd get to see a bunch of really acclaimed illustrator authors. And of all the advice, it was Amy June Bates and Melissa Stewart and Marla Frazee. And it was just to draw every day, draw and sketch, or do something that you observe. You observe something every day and try to capture it. Maybe it's a 20 minutes or 20-second sketch or something like that, just so that you're keeping your muscles strong and going. So I would recommend that.
I love that. And you also touched on something we wanted to talk about, was something that really unites all of you, is that you are really focused on diverse children's books and having more diverse representation. Why is that something that's so important to you?
Like you two should start.
For me, I just feel like I actually immigrated to this country in my 20s, so I didn't grow up here. And but then after I come here, I just realized there's so many mixed culture and diversity of race here, and everyone is just equally as important. Different voices as important, and I feel like as an immigrant myself, personally, I wouldn't be able to tell a very genuine American kid story because I did not grow up here. But at the same time, there are many kids like myself that are immigrants or descend of immigrants. And I would like to share that story because that's a kind of story that only I can tell. You really have to live through the experience to be able to tell that story. And I feel like there's many children out there, you'll be in similar situation, and also help American children to understand their friends better, because sometimes with all the politics and social argument we have in the society, it could be very confusing for kids. But then through story is something everyone can relate to, even though it might not be your experience, but you can learn about other people's experience in a fun way, and just learn more empathy, and you get better understanding. And I think it's just a really fun way to share our collective different life experience. And along the way you make better friends, because you know people from different perspectives, from different angles. And yeah, so to me it's a share of life experience, because it's also a way for me to connect with other fellow friends myself. And I like to put my friends and their stories in my book as well. It just makes it more realistic and just show the country the way it is. It's a very diverse culture with many different colors and culture and religions. So yeah, that's my thought.
Oh, I completely applaud and second that, Alina. I think it was so well said. I mean, children's books for me, I was born and raised in California, so I don't speak Chinese, but I am a proud Cantonese Chinese American. And so speaking for me, and I was a really shy kid growing up, my children's books were like these best friends for me. So so coming from, well, very well said, Alina. I just feel like children's books are a way to build more empathy and compassion and communication and connection with our countrymen world. I mean, I feel like we've all gone through so much during this pandemic and beyond, and it's just any way that we can build connections with others and feel like we're a part of just this one little blue dot, right? And we're all the same, like connected somehow, is just really important. And I know it's important to all of you as well.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love. I found two of my favorite books as a child, and I was thinking, I think this is a Viking Press book. I don't even have the cover, but it was Crow Boy, and I just felt like nobody's probably even read it. I think I got it from a Scholastic book fair or something. I don't know. And also the story of Ferdinand, but those really hit me, given as in suburbia where I didn't have a ton of diversity, but my friends usually were. Like, I don't know why I was just drawn to learn more. And actually, my husband, you can probably tell from my last name, is Cantonese. He's from Hong Kong. And so we have two biracial children. So when they were young, they're now 20, like Shirley, but diverse. And, you just start, I wanted some books that they could relate to. And so I started using subjects, much to their dismay on occasion. But that is sort of where my desire to show a multi-family, which is so much a part of America. I mean, look at us. This is who we are. So why not that?
Mm-hmm. And we are also grateful for all the books that you all collectively have produced. So we have those for our kids. And can you talk a little bit about what it's like to collaborate together? And maybe if you could talk more like about the books that you've actually done together and what that collaboration was like. I have the one that Nancy did with Alina, and I think, are you working on another one together? Is that right, or is this the? Oh, hold on. I just want to say, because I know you guys
we are working on
the comments. Someone says, I share Crow Boy, and Ferdinand with my pre-service teachers in our children's literature course. So you're not the only one who loves those books.
Oh, yeah.
But could you tell us a little bit
Wonderful.
more about double happiness?
Yeah. We started, Lena and I, with Chronicle books and Double Happiness. And when I look back, I think how different that experience is from what we're going through now, because out there in the social media world, and I did anyway. We became friends on the sneaking when we could. Not really collaboration through the directors and everything. We weren't supposed to be. And now with our new book, called One Story Through Poetry, we are now like, well, first of all, the publisher Waterbrook asked me who I would want as an illustrator, which nobody's ever really listened to me, and they picked Alina was who I wanted. So that was a miracle in itself. And then now they invite us to talk together as a team. Can't even, I'm like, I have no comment. Just let Alina do whatever she does. But it's just so nice to have that experience. And that Shirley said with our book, Hearts and Talk, that was the first time that I had an agent, Joan, who paired us together ahead of time. And Shirley made my words better. We've talked to each other. and oh, how can this story become better? And that's just I just love that. Continue in the public world.
Is that just a difference of publishers? Because I've heard that from some other authors and illustrators that they really don't have any contact, and like you said, maybe aren't supposed to. And then others where they're working together really closely. Is that just a difference of publisher, or is that something that's changing, like a trend in general?
I think it's more common that author and illustrator are not allowed to talk, because I'm working on another picture book right now, illustrating a book called Love for Chocolate. And that one I'm not allowed to talk to the author, but they give me her Instagram to spy on her. So I know who she is. I spy on her. So because even when I was illustrating for Double Happiness, that's before Instagram, I did not know Nancy at the time, and I'm also new in publishing. I also go on Facebook and spy on her too, because the story is a very personal story. I can tell from reading the story it's inspired by the author's family. So I'm like, wow, I kind of need to know who the author is and why the author writes that type of story. So when I illustrate, I can illustrate in a way that really express what the author has in mind. And the publisher wouldn't tell you those information. So I would go online, but her name is interesting. Look like she has a mixed race family. Let me go online and spy on this person. So I do the same with the other book I'm working on right now. I go on Instagram and say, oh, she also have a mixed race family. Okay, let me spy on her kids, because obviously the book is about her kids. So, and I'm pretty not shy. Like by this point, I'm not shy about asking the publisher. It's like, well, does the author mind to share her family photo with me? Because it really helped me to really nail the expression that the author want to express. And like with the book, Nancy and I are working on, it is, like Nancy mentioned, it's based on Bible. It's actually Bible. So I'm not Christian, although I do grow up in Catholic school and I went to Christian university, but personally, Christianity is not my religion. So I'm familiar with Bible teaching, but being not belong to the faith is still really helpful to really communicate with someone who Christianity is their faith, because what I know is from a different perspective. I'm coming from a historical philosophy perspective that's very different from someone who believes in the religion. So to me, it's good that we are actually allowed to communicate, because I'm like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Is that what you're thinking? And she said, yeah or nay. And I'm like, okay, good. We're on the same page.
What about you? Is it, because I know you've worked on a lot of children's books, is it usually the same where you're not supposed to communicate, or have you had more experiences like with Nancy where you're allowed to kind of collaborate a bit more?
No, I think Nancy and I are the exception. So yeah, it's more about getting the manuscript from the publisher and working with the editor or the art director versus the author. And yeah, with Nancy, I think we talked about it as it was sort of coming together, like this little, it early on, before it went on, or maybe even when it went on submission. I'm not even sure, but it's the exception for sure.
Well, I hate to wrap this up because this is so fun talking to you all, but I just noticed it's already been 20 minutes and I want to be respectful of your time. And plus Instagram gets a little bit glitchy sometimes if we go too long about letting me save it. So I thought maybe we could just wrap up, that you guys can give us just like a little brief preview of what you're working on right now, whether it's something you're doing together or other projects that you have. And maybe Nancy, we can start with you.
I'm in the midst of editing again, the one that Shirley and I are working on. But it's interesting because if anyone wants to see a preview, the poem in For Every Little Thing, it was called Hearts in My Pocket, and then I expanded it to story. So that is my all right. I never know a poem could become a story. So try it.
That's cool.
How about you, Alina? What do you have coming out?
So I have a new book coming out. This is Bonnie's Rocket. And this one is really fun, especially if you're a space nerd like NASA and moon landing and stuff. So it's about a little girl who aspired to be a rocket engineer. So, and then the backstory happened during Apollo 11. Her dad is an engineer working on Apollo 11. So it's a really fun story for, especially for kids who love science and space stuff.
Very cool. Just really quickly, I finished artwork for the last two in the Dive Into Reading. Our early readers, so this group. And they also did some Spanish versions of the last two books, so I was so excited. And I'm working on the project with Nancy, Hearts in My Pocket. I can't wait to dig into the picture book there with Union Square Kids. And just announced was my debut picture book, so I'll be working on that with Quill Tree Books, and that is called Down Through Up, and I'm so excited to be super busy. So.
That's wonderful. Well, I can't wait to see all of those. Thank you all for being on here. It was really fun to talk to the three of you together, and you've gotten, I know you probably haven't been able to see the comments that have been scrolling through, a lot of really nice comments about people being so glad to see you and hear from you. And like I said, if you missed the IG Live I had with Alina, you can go back and find that on our YouTube channel or Instagram. And Shirley and I are picking a date for when we are going to do an IG Live together. So you can look forward to that. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for all you do.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you.